Goldie Hawn is revered worldwide as a Hollywood comedy icon of the 1960s to 1980s. Audiences remember her for her radiant smile and golden blonde hair. They praise the beautiful, 4-decade-long romance between her and Kurt Russell. But to achieve the peace she enjoys today at her snow-covered Aspen Ranch, Goldie Hawn had to pay a heavy price. Her youth was filled with wounds. Behind the Oscar glory, Hollywood brought her some of the worst men imaginable. She once loved with all her heart. She trusted them absolutely. But in return, she received only deceit, betrayal, and ruthless exploitation. One man even used a divorce paper to extort her. That was her first husband, Gus Triconis. He forced her to pay $75,000 just to let her go. Another heartlessly abandoned his own flesh and blood, only to smear her in the press. That was her second husband, Bill Hudson. Then there were some of America's most glamorous A-list actors who treated her merely as a conquest. They psychologically manipulated her and trampled on her pride without mercy. Today, in her twilight years, Goldie Hawn turns back the pages of her hidden diaries. Below is a list of the 6 worst actors, the bastards who heartlessly toyed with the heart of America's sweetheart. Gus Triconis, the extortionist with a divorce paper. Goldie Hawn is 80 years old. She sits in the living room of a wooden villa in Aspen, Colorado. Outside, the snow is falling heavily. The wind howls through the old pine trees. Inside, the fire in the stone fireplace crackles. The atmosphere is incredibly quiet and warm. Audiences worldwide always remember Goldie Hawn for her radiant smile and blonde hair. She is living a deeply peaceful life alongside actor Kurt Russell. Their romance of over 40 years is constantly praised by the press. But right now, Kurt isn't home. She sits alone on the sofa. On the oak coffee table in front of her is an old cardboard box. She slowly opens the lid. Inside are yellowed papers and a few photographs from decades ago. She picks up a piece of paper to look at. Behind her bright on-screen smile are deep wounds. Before finding the man who truly belonged to her, she had to navigate a youth filled with tears. Rising to fame too quickly brought her money and prestige. But it also attracted terrible men to her. They exploited her trust and her love. She takes a deep breath. She decides to confront her memories. The name of the first terrible man appears in her mind. He is Gus Triconis. Time rewinds to 1969. Goldie Hawn was only 24 at the time. The young girl was full of dreams. She was catching the audience's attention through TV shows like The Tonight Show and Laugh-In. She met Gus Triconis. Gus was a dancer and a supporting actor. He had a handsome face and knew how to sweet-talk. Goldie quickly fell in love. She had always longed for a simple, cozy family life. She trusted Gus completely. During the holidays that year, they flew to Hawaii. They had a quick, simple wedding. Goldie put all her faith in this first husband. She thought they would walk together until the end of their lives. However, life didn't go as she had hoped. Right after the wedding, Goldie Hawn's career exploded. She accepted a role in the movie Cactus Flower. This role won her the prestigious Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1970. Overnight, Goldie Hawn became a Hollywood A-lister. Directors constantly sought her out. The audience loved her. Every major newspaper printed her picture on the cover. Meanwhile, Gus Triconis's career completely stagnated. He remained a fading actor. The disparity in their fame began to kill the marriage. Gus Triconis couldn't accept living in his wife's shadow. The fragile ego of an unknown man was severely bruised. He started changing his attitude. He became cold and irritable with Goldie. He distanced himself from her. The gap between them grew wider. Arguments became more frequent in their home. By 1973, this suffocating life couldn't go on. Goldie and Gus decided to separate. Goldie moved out. She wanted to end things amicably. But Gus Triconis revealed his true colors as an opportunist. Goldie Hawn, filed for divorce. She hoped for a quick release to start her life over. However, Gus refused to sign the papers. He knew Goldie was a star, making a lot of money. He made an incredibly cruel demand. He demanded she pay him $75,000 before he would agree to the divorce. In the mid-1970s, this was a massive sum of money. Goldie Hawn was completely devastated. She didn't mourn the money, but she was hurt by the naked truth. The man she had once loved so deeply was now using a divorce paper to extort her. He didn't cherish the years they lived together. He just saw her as a tool to siphon off wealth. Her trust shattered. Goldie Hawn cried a lot. She realized she had given her heart to a heartless man. Faced with that greed, she didn't want to argue anymore. She decided to pay out of her own pocket to buy her freedom. She wrote a check for $75,000 and handed it to Gus's lawyer. The divorce papers were signed in 1976. Gus Traconis took the money and permanently disappeared from her life. In her Aspen living room, Goldie Hawn sighs softly. She places the old paper down on the table. Even though half a century has passed, her first husband's blatant extortion remains a dark stain in her mind. Gus Traconis taught her the first painful lesson about Hollywood's deceit. She reaches up and smooths out the creases of the sweater she is wearing. She looks out at the blanketing snow through the window. Gus's betrayal was only the beginning. Another terrible man quickly stepped into her life and delivered a wound that was far crueler. His name was Bill Hudson. Bill Hudson, the heartless husband who disowned his own children. The fire in the stone fireplace continues to crackle. Goldie Hawn takes a sip of hot tea. The space in the Aspen villa is immersed in the quiet of a snowy afternoon. She reaches into the old cardboard box on the table. She pulls out a faded family photograph. In the picture, she is hugging two incredibly adorable children. Standing next to her is a man with a bright smile. But looking back at that face, her heart feels nothing but bitterness. The extortionist Gus Traconis only took a portion of her wealth. But the man in this photo left an incurable wound in her soul and the souls of her children. He is Bill Hudson. Time rewinds to 1975. Goldie Hawn had just gone through an exhausting divorce with her first husband. She met Bill Hudson on a flight from New York to Los Angeles. Bill was then a singer and actor in the band The Hudson Brothers. He had a romantic charm. He knew exactly what to say to make her laugh. Goldie was incredibly lost at the time. She craved a solid anchor. She wanted a normal family and good children. She completely believed in Bill's sweet promises. In 1976, they officially married. Happiness seemed complete. She had 2 children in quick succession. Her son Oliver was born in 1976. Her daughter Kate was born in 1979. Goldie Hawn strove to be a good mother. She took care of the kids herself. At the same time, she maintained her A-list status in Hollywood. But once again, the old tragedy repeated itself. Bill Hudson's career went downhill. He couldn't stand the fact that his wife was so famous and successful. The fragile ego of a man caused him to change. He began acting coldly toward Goldie. He was away from home more frequently. He dodged his responsibilities as a father. Bitter arguments erupted in their house. By 1980, Bill decided to file for divorce. He packed his bags and left. He left Goldie Hawn alone to raise 2 very young children. Divorce is inherently normal in the entertainment industry. But Bill Hudson's subsequent behavior was truly cruel. He didn't care for or adequately provide for Oliver and Kate's upbringing. He completely threw away his responsibilities as a father. Goldie had to shoulder the burden of the family alone. Fortunately, actor Kurt Russell later stepped into her life. Kurt stepped up to be the real father to the 2 children that Bill never was. However, Bill didn't let her and the kids live in peace. When he saw his ex-wife and children getting more famous, he started appearing constantly in the tabloids. He tried every way to smear Goldie Hawn. He called her manipulative. He published a book trashing her. He exposed private matters to cash in on his ex-wife's name. The pinnacle of his cruelty happened years later. Her son Oliver posted an old photo on social media on Father's Day. Oliver wrote a sarcastic caption about being abandoned by his biological father, instead of reflecting on his mistakes. Bill Hudson reacted with sheer venom. He went to the press and publicly disowned his own 2 children. He stated coldly, "I no longer recognize Oliver and Kate as my own." He even demanded the 2 kids drop the Hudson name. Those words broke Goldie Hawn's heart. She was in absolute agony. She didn't hurt because she was insulted. She hurt because the children she birthed were publicly trampled on by their biological father in front of the media. A normal father would always protect his kids. But Bill Hudson was willing to sell out his family in exchange for public attention and to satisfy his personal selfishness. In the Aspen living room, Goldie Hawn places the photo down on the table. Her eyes sting. Bill Hudson wasn't just a terrible husband, he was a heartless monster. Marrying him was the most horrible mistake of her life. But she also silently thanks adversity. It was Bill's awfulness that helped her realize Kurt Russell's true value. She wipes away a tear, threatening to spill down her cheek. She takes a deep breath. Her tear-stained romantic history didn't stop there. Before finding a peaceful harbor, she was emotionally manipulated by one of America's most notorious playboys. She reaches out to turn another page in the box. The name of the 3rd man appears. He was a notorious player named Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty, the glamorous womanizer, and his psychological manipulation. The snow outside continues to fall relentlessly. The Aspen sky begins to turn the gloomy gray of late afternoon. In the living room, the flames from the stone fireplace reach higher. Goldie Hawn takes another sip of tea. The tea has cooled. She sets the ceramic cup down on the oak table. She pushes Bill Hudson's photo aside. Her heart has calmed after the moment of anguish for her children. Unlike her 2 ex-husbands, the next man didn't tie her down with a marriage certificate. He didn't steal her money. He didn't abandon her kids. But he was a master at stealing hearts and trampling on women's pride. His name was Warren Beatty. Time rewinds to the 1970s. Goldie Hawn was a highly prominent actress at the time. She had dazzling beauty and a soaring career. In Hollywood, Warren Beatty's name was just as famous. He was an A-list actor. He was incredibly handsome. He had a fatal attraction to women, but along with his talent, he was also famous as the most notorious playboy in the cinematic capital. The list of his lovers was endless. Goldie Hawn knew this very well. She used to tell herself to keep a safe distance from this dangerous man. But when she accepted a role in the movie Shampoo alongside him in 1975, all her defenses completely crumbled. The movie Shampoo officially began filming. Warren Beatty was both the lead actor and a producer. On set, he wielded absolute power. He started keeping an eye on Goldie. Warren didn't use crude or brazen flattery. He used a much more sophisticated tactic. He approached her with special attention. Every time she finished a difficult scene, he was always the first to approach her. He handed her a glass of water. He pulled out a chair for her to sit. He looked deep into her eyes. He praised her talent in an incredibly warm voice. He created a private atmosphere between the 2 of them in the middle of a crowd. He made Goldie feel like she was the only and most special woman on that massive movie set. Goldie Hawn was vulnerable at the time. Her first marriage to Gus Triconis had recently fallen apart. She craved to be loved and protected by a man. Warren Beatty's relentless and smooth pursuit overwhelmed her. He invited her to dinner at luxurious restaurants. He listened to her sad confessions attentively. He seemed to understand all her pain. She started to believe that this notorious bad boy had truly changed for her. She developed feelings for him. She entered into an ambiguous relationship with him. She hoped her sincerity would keep the playboy actor by her side. She gave him the absolute trust of a woman in love. But it was all a perfect act. Warren Beatty hadn't changed at all. The nature of a romantic predator remained intact. As soon as the movie wrapped, his attitude instantly flipped. He no longer made those caring nightly phone calls. He frequently disappeared without reason. Goldie Hawn quickly discovered the bitter truth. The press constantly published pictures of him dating other women. She saw those photos with her own eyes on the front pages of magazines. He made no effort to hide his womanizing. He was still seeing multiple other actresses at the same time. To Warren, she wasn't a final destination. She was just a new conquest to add to his massive romantic collection. He manipulated her emotions just to satisfy the massive ego of a selfish man. Goldie Hawn felt deeply insulted. The pride of a star was ruthlessly trampled on. She realized she had been too naive. She had let him exploit her vulnerability and loneliness. She decided to confront him directly. She demanded a clear explanation. But Warren Beatty showed no remorse. He brushed off all responsibility with an indifferent attitude. He rejected any serious commitment with coldness. Goldie walked out of that relationship with a battered heart. The wound Warren inflicted couldn't be measured in money. He stole her innocent belief in love. He taught her a brutal lesson about the sweet talk in Hollywood. Back in the cozy living room in Aspen, Goldie Hawn sighs softly. She reaches up and gently massages her temples. Remembering her own youthful foolishness makes her laugh bitterly. Warren Beatty was a glamorous bastard. He didn't use physical force. He used psychological manipulation to take down gullible women. It took her a long time to erase the insecurity he caused. She reaches deep into the cardboard box. At the bottom of the box, there are still other names. Men who had passed through her life and left overflowing disappointment. She pulls out an old roll of film. This keepsake transports her mind across the ocean. Straight to Europe, there. A Swedish actor had deceived her with the most delusional promises. Bruno Wenzel, empty promises and maddening callousness. The old film roll in Goldie Hawn's hand has a rusted metal casing. The living room scene in Aspen is bathed in warm firelight. But this film roll takes her mind back to a very cold place. It was the Northern Europe of decades ago. That place once held the beautiful illusions of her youth. She once believed she would find a true prince on another continent, far away from the bad boys of Hollywood. But that man turned her life into a series of suffocating and maddeningly boring days. He was the Swedish actor Bruno Wenzel. Time rewinds to 1973. Goldie Hawn was in an incredibly sensitive phase. She had just filed for separation from her first husband, Gus Triconis. She had also just tasted the pain of being treated like a joke by the playboy Warren Beatty. Hollywood had become a place full of deceit. She decided to take a role in the movie The Girl from Petrovka to get a change of scenery. On set, she met Bruno Wenzel. He was unlike the American men she had known. Bruno was an incredibly famous opera singer and musical actor in Sweden. He had a tall stature, an elegant demeanor, and the signature warm voice of a European. Bruno's appearance was like a breath of fresh air. He was incredibly attentive. He didn't pursue her in the loud manner of the American entertainment industry. He painted a beautiful picture of the future for her. He promised to give her a peaceful, refined, and highly artistic life in his homeland of Sweden. He assured her he would protect her from the media's scrutiny. Goldie Hawn was completely won over. She craved a real home. She believed in the sweet vows of this European actor. She packed her bags and flew to Sweden to live with him. They appeared together on the red carpets of prestigious events. The audience and the media praised them as a perfect couple. But life behind closed doors was a cruel deception. Her European prince never existed. Bruno Wenzel revealed his true form as a callous, shallow, and incredibly selfish man. He didn't care about Goldie's feelings. He left her stranded in a foreign country, instead of the romantic evenings he promised. Their shared life became a recurring nightmare. He suffered from a grand delusion about himself. Every day, He would sit at the piano in the living room. He didn't play new pieces of music, he just played the exact same melody over and over again. The piano echoed continuously, repeating hundreds of times, stretching Goldie's nerves to the breaking point. It didn't stop there. His callousness was shown through incredibly superficial habits. When Goldie needed someone to share her work pressures with, Bruno chose to glue his eyes to the TV screen. He spent hours on end just watching the cartoon The Flintstones. He sat there and laughed out loud senselessly. He completely ignored the presence of the woman living with him. The promise of an artistic and refined life was just a scam. Bruno couldn't offer her a single deep conversation. He trapped her in a relationship so empty and superficial, it was suffocating. Goldie Hawn felt deceived and abandoned right in her own home. The feeling of loneliness in a foreign land caused her to break down. To escape his repetitive piano playing and obnoxious laughter, she had to find a hiding place. She started spending hours locking herself in the house's wooden sauna. She once spoke frankly to the press about this dead-end period. She said, "I actually had to go into the sauna. It was quiet, warm, and I was completely alone." That was the only way she could protect her sanity from that callous man. By 1975, Goldie's endurance reached its limit. She couldn't keep playing the role of a happy girlfriend. She realized Bruno Winsel was just a peddler of empty promises. He tricked her into a tedious life to satisfy his selfishness. Goldie confronted him directly to end things. She told him straight that she was sick and tired of his repetitive piano playing and ridiculous cartoon episodes. She packed her bags and decisively left Sweden. She returned to America to rebuild her life on her own. The fire in the fireplace lets out a loud crack. Goldie Hawn is jolted back to reality. She smiles bitterly, looking at the old film roll. Bruno Winsel passed away in 2002. The resentment has faded with time, but the lesson about delusional fantasies remains. Running away to another country didn't help her find true love. She drops the film roll back into the cardboard box. The memories keep flowing. Europe didn't just give her a callous Swede. This continent also brought her an Italian actor. That man poured a bucket of cold water on her enthusiasm. His name was Franco Nero. Franco Nero, fake passion and a cruel flip. The snow outside continues to pour down. Gusts of wind slam against the glass windows of the wooden villa in Aspen. Inside the living room, Goldie Hawn shivers slightly. She pulls her wool shawl tighter around her shoulders. The fire in the fireplace still burns steadily. She reaches her wrinkled hand into the cardboard box on the coffee table. This time, her fingers touch an old postcard. The front of the postcard features an image of an ancient street corner in Rome. The memory of the boredom in Sweden fades into the background. This postcard takes her mind to Italy. That place held a man who poured a bucket of cold water on her desperate, longing heart. His name was Franco Nero. Time rewinds to the mid-1970s. Goldie Hawn was at the peak of her fame, but was incredibly lonely. She had just stepped out of relationships filled with trauma. She fled to Europe to seek peace. There, she met Franco Nero. He was a wildly famous Italian movie star. He possessed a wild, masculine beauty, piercing blue eyes, and a confident demeanor, in stark contrast to Bruno Winsel's coldness and boredom. Franco carried within him the blazing fire of a Mediterranean man. Right from their first meeting, Franco clearly showed his intention to conquer. He bombarded Goldie with astonishing passion. He hovered around her constantly. He looked at her with passionate eyes. He gave her the most direct and straightforward compliments. He held her hand and led her through the romantic streets of Rome. He made her feel like the most attractive and desired woman in the world. Goldie Hawn completely let her guard down. She was craving a fierce love to fill the voids in her heart. The relentless pursuit of the Italian actor was like an antidote. She dropped all her defenses. She threw herself into this whirlwind romance with all the fervor of her youth. She believed his fiery love was real. But she was wrong. That fire was just a perfect act to satisfy his womanizing ways. Franco Nero was a notorious romantic predator. To him, conquering an Oscar-winning Hollywood star was just a trophy to brag about. He had no intention of building a serious relationship. As soon as he achieved his goal, his attitude changed entirely. The flip happened so fast that Goldie Hawn didn't have time to react. From a passionate lover, Franco abruptly turned into a cold stranger. He no longer made phone calls that lasted for hours. He started canceling dates with absurd excuses. When the two accidentally bumped into each other at events, he looked at her with indifferent eyes. He answered her questions dismissively. He openly flirted with other women right in front of her. He stripped away all the attention he had once generously bestowed. Goldie Hawn fell into a state of sheer panic. She felt deeply hurt. Her pride was trampled on without mercy. She tried to find an explanation for this sudden change. She confronted him, but Franco Nero just shrugged. He answered her with cold silence. He treated her like a toy that had lost its value. Once he was bored. He definitively tossed her aside without a shred of remorse or guilt. His initial passion was merely a tool to deceive her emotions. Being dumped so callously and indifferently caused Goldie to break down. She realized she had given her affection to a shallow and heartless man. The promise of a passionate love in Europe shattered into pieces. Her journey to seek healing only brought back another massive scar. She decided to pack her bags. She left Italy in bitterness and returned to America. She promised herself she would never let flashy actors deceive her ever again. In the living room in Aspen, Goldie Hawn tosses the postcard back into the cardboard box. The fire in the fireplace casts a flickering light on her wrinkled face. She sighs softly. Franco Nero taught her a cruel lesson about glamorous facades, but his coldness still wasn't the worst thing. She closes her eyes. She prepares to face the final, painful memory. At the bottom of that box is a keepsake of a man who stepped into her life very early on. He didn't show up when she was already famous. He was there when she was just a nobody. But instead of supporting her, he used the worst words possible to trample on her self-esteem. Mark Goddard, the man who trampled her pride, with insults. The sky outside the Aspen villa has turned pitch black. The blizzard shows no signs of stopping. The wind howls fiercely through the window cracks. Inside the living room, Goldie Hawn sits silently on the sofa. The fire in the fireplace starts to die down. She reaches out, grabs a piece of dry wood, and throws it into the hearth. She reaches all the way to the bottom of the old cardboard box on the table. Her fingers touch a faded scrap of paper. It's not a photograph. It's not a postcard. It's a theater ticket stub from the mid-1960s. This keepsake pulls her mind back to one of the darkest periods of her life. That was when she had no fame. She had no money. She was just a poor girl harboring dreams of becoming an actress. The man who left the deepest scar didn't appear when she stood at the peak of glory. He appeared when she was at her weakest and most obscure. His name was Mark Goddard. Time rewinds to the early 1960s. Goldie Hawn was just in her early 20s. She left her hometown for the East Coast and then California to seek an opportunity to change her life. She worked as a go-go dancer to make ends meet. Life was incredibly struggling and precarious. In the midst of that, she met Mark Goddard. Mark was an established television actor at the time. He had a handsome face. He had a poised and incredibly confident demeanor for a young girl without a career like Goldie. Mark was an incredibly solid pillar of support. She quickly fell into his trap of love. She moved in with him. She idolized him. She thought his love would protect her in the harsh entertainment industry. But Goldie was dead wrong. Mark Goddard didn't bring protection. He brought destruction. He didn't use physical violence. He used words to suffocate her soul. The disparity in fame caused Mark to develop a superiority complex. He wanted to control her completely. He started an incredibly cruel process of psychological manipulation. He injected negative thoughts about herself into Goldie's head. Every time she expressed her dream of becoming a famous actress, he would laugh mockingly. He looked at her with contempt. He constantly criticized her appearance. He said her face was too weird. He disparaged her figure. He asserted she had no talent other than being an unknown dancer in nightclubs. He brainwashed her with the idea that Hollywood would never have a place for a stupid girl like her. He told her to give up her illusions and obediently be a shadow by his side. The attacks happened daily. They repeated over and over. It was a poison that gradually seeped into her mind. Goldie Hawn completely lost her confidence. She cried constantly. She started to believe those lies. She looked in the mirror and saw herself as truly ugly. She went to auditions with a fearful and timid mindset. She lost her signature radiant smile. She lived in extreme insecurity. Mark Goddard succeeded in trampling her pride. He cut off all her hopes of rising up in order to keep her by his side. Stripping a young person of their belief in themselves is an incredibly cruel act. He did that to Goldie with absolute coldness. The oppression lasted until one day in the late 1960s. Goldie Hawn got the opportunity to audition for a comedy television show. She excitedly told Mark, instead of encouraging her. He poured a bucket of cold water on her. He looked down his nose at her. He dropped a callous judgment. He said, "You'll never amount to anything in Hollywood." That sentence was the final straw, looking into the cold eyes of the man she loved. Goldie suddenly woke up. She realized the cruel truth. Mark Goddard didn't love her at all. He just wanted to drag her down to the bottom to satisfy his own selfishness and arrogance. If she continued to stay, she would drown in this insecurity forever. The anger turned into strength. She stopped crying. She stood up. She packed a few clothes into an old suitcase. She turned her back and walked out the door. She left that toxic man behind forever. Escaping Mark Goddard was the best decision of Goldie Hawn's life. That departure completely liberated who she was. She brought her radiant smile to the audition. She was cast in the show Laugh In. Her name shined instantly. Just a few years later, she won the prestigious Academy Award. She proved to Mark Goddard just how miserably wrong he was. His insults had become the motivation for her to reach the pinnacle. In the living room in Aspen, Goldie Hawn smiles peacefully. She crushes the old theater ticket and tosses it straight into the fireplace. The flames swallow the final keepsake of a dark past. She closes the lid of the cardboard box. 6 terrible men had passed through her life. They deceived, exploited, and drained her. But they couldn't knock her down. She survived. She became a legend. Goldie Hawn's life is a living testament to resilience. The 6 terrible men above brought her countless traumas. They extorted, abandoned, psychologically manipulated, and trampled on her self-esteem. But they couldn't extinguish the radiant smile of the American cinema icon. The bitter tears of the past helped her realize her true worth. Finally, she found her perfect, peaceful haven with Kurt Russell. Their enduring romance of over 40 years is the most definitive clapback to those who once heartlessly deceived her. Out of these 6 men, whose actions do you think were the most cruel? Was it Gus Triconis' blatant extortion, Bill Hudson's abandonment of his children, or Warren Beatty's ruthless womanizing? Please leave a comment sharing your thoughts down below. If you found this content compelling, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to continue discovering the hidden corners and never-before-revealed secret files of the Hollywood entertainment industry. Thank you for always accompanying and tuning in. See you in the next videos.